So if you look, you're undoing this bolt, you've moved this bolt, but this might turn as well, so you might need to put a spanner on there. I've just done the bottom one, and you see the other nut there. This has come okay, so you don't need to. But on this one, you can see, where's Katie when you need her to help film me? See how that's spinning? So I'm gonna have to put a spanner on there. You can kind of see how much is kind of gone there. See if I can get it to focus if I can. There's probably about a third gone, so there's, I don't know, what would you equate that to? 33% left? I mean, I won't let leave them on for any longer, so I can see why the squeal pins have been going. I can't actually see the squeal pin in there at all. But yeah, they're pretty much done. They were seized on as well, as you could see when I got them out. They were pretty shitty. As I say, if you look at the new pad, I think I could have got like original Volkswagen part as well, but literally this was all they had. When I dropped in at them in Fort William, so they're just going to go on. And it's worth noting the way the clips go on and things like that as well. So one thing I've noticed straight away. Easy mate, you alright?
Working hard. Right,
yeah, good. You? One thing I've noticed is, I don't know if you can spot it on here, but there's a little bit of, you can't really see it on the video, but you can see it from there actually. There's a little bit of a groove. So I don't know if there's just been a bit of shit that's got in and created that. And this was the back one, and just created a little tiny pit on the inside there. So that might have been what's been causing the sort of squealing. I don't know, but I don't know if you can see that, but yeah. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put the pads on, I think, check the other side, and if there's any like bad pitting on that side, then I'll probably consider putting new discs on. But yeah, I mean, I'm just hoping for a quick job. I'm not busy with work and all the rest of it. I'm just thinking, let's just see how I get on. Put these pads on, see how it goes. Another thing to watch out for is just make sure these sliders here are like there's no leaks. They seem all intact. Just make sure that's all fine and dandy. Now, in the pack, I didn't get any of the seats, so just need to clean these out, and these will have to sort of stay on. They don't seem like there's any bubbling to any of the metal underneath. They seem pretty good. You do get the clips, so check the way the clips go on these, and then make sure on your new pads that you put the clips on in the same way. Yeah, just check them. And the way it looks like you want to do it with these pads is you want to, so the spring acts like that. So what you want to do is you want to kind of push them in. So push the front in first and then push them in. Just to recap on what I've done. So what I've done is you want to put a bit of copper slip or equivalent, something that is perfect for putting on brakes. Just protect your discs and your front of your pads. It kind of goes without saying, but obviously don't be getting any shit on your pad, any grease or anything like that. So just be careful for that. You want to clean out the bottom seat that this goes into. So you want to clean out the receiver on the bottom piece of that. and also there you want to clean out the two. So that point and that point. It's worth noting these are not too bad, they're quite well made, but if there's any bits of like shitty paintwork or anything like that that would stop them moving freely, just keep an eye on that as well. You can see us having a bit of tricky difficulties, like you'll see, but those pins want to squeeze in, but you'll notice that if you push the fronts in and then the back second, you'll find it's all right. So what I've been doing is just sort of checking that these are moving freely, and the next job is going to be to, so what will really help is using one of these pushing tools. And the first thing you need to do is, this is like, I think they call it the thrust plate. So this kind of plate needs to go over the thrust bolt. So you want to kind of like get that over there, and then that'll sit on there like that. And then what you want to be doing is effectively like use your old brake pad. This is really difficult to try and do and film at the same time. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put the old brake pad in there like that. I'm going to get this kind of plate and push that into there and start to turn. And that should hopefully do the two at the same time. And I do have another actually that I can use to give it a bit of extra. So all that I'm doing is I've got the plate shoulder kind of in there, and then this is pushing against the old brake pad, and then just tighten that up to push the piston back. So once you've pushed your pistons back in and you've got it on, don't forget to move these sliders back in so you can get this on. You're going to have your two bolts to put back in. If you notice, they'll have had a little bit of thread lock on, so ideally you want to put some more on there. I know a lot of people sometimes say use new bolts, but I've not got new bolts, so you'll have a bit of thread lock back on and it'll go on. And if you just offer these up by hand, kind of makes sense to me that you'll know that they're in the right spot, because if they line up and they're moving in nice and freely and easily, then they're in the right position. And then obviously nip them up. Now I don't know if there's a torque recommendation or setting on these, but they'll just be getting where I feel it feels about right. Do that one a bit and then nip that one up again. One thing I can guarantee is that I'm getting a nice bright t-shirt full of shit. Now the other thing to sort of check before you put your wheel back on is just have a general check of everything anyway. Just make sure like all your seals and things like that, all your boots are intact. Everything's looking spot on for me. Make sure you've not moved this and that it's in situ and correct. Also say as well, like if you've got time, obviously I've cleaned it off with a flat-headed screwdriver, but if you've got a wire brush, take your time and do it. I think if you can get the other new seats for there, I think that would be a handy thing to do as well. I mean, the brakes were moving about free enough. As I say, they've got a little bit of like silicone grease in there, so they should move about freely. But again, you ideally want to be using copper slip. So don't forget to put your spacer back on. So for jacking up on the rear, you will have a bottle jack like this, and it will kind of show you where the jacking points are. And the jacking points, you've got the jacking points that are there for when you kind of take it into a workshop and they've got a proper lift. You can jack from the axle as well, but I'm going to show you a way that if you jack from the axle, you're then going to need a trolley jack or need to climb underneath the van to jack it up. The alternative way is to jack it up on one of these points. It won't lift up much, but it'll just lift the axle a little bit, so then you can get an axle stand in and then drop the trolley jack down, and it'll just be enough to get your tyre off basically. So all I've done so far is I've just jacked up with a trolley jack on the point here on the inside. So if you look under, you'll find it's sort of just in from there. Look. The other thing I'm going to do is I've just put an axle stand just under there and wedged it in. So when I drop the jack now, fucking that, get my words out. When I drop the trolley jack now, it'll just drop onto that axle stand. Generally use 2 axle stands. I have got another one, but what I'm going to do is going to kind of drop it onto there, then do this side, and then do the same on the other side, just so it's safer than being on one of the wheels. So yeah, you can kind of come under and get into, that's quite a sort of solid casting, so you can go to that point, but you're obviously then having to get quite far under the van as well. So if I just drop that onto the trolley jack now, on these particular KMC hole shot wheels, you'll need to remove this kind of centre cap, otherwise you won't be able to get your locking nut in fully. So annoyingly, you've got to just take this centre cap out. And then to take your wheels off, you're going to need some kind of long ratchet. Just sort of loosened all them off, and then you're going to need your locking nut as well. So just make sure you know where that is if you've got alloys. There we go. Yeah, so as I say, just doing it that way, it means you're not having to get your bottle jack or your trolley jack right underneath the van. You're only just going up enough to kind of get the axle up, so you'll get the axle stand under, we'll get a few inches, and then you'll be able to carry on from there basically. Don't lose your spacer. So just having a quick sort of look at the state of the discs, they're still pretty good. So I've obviously done the front brakes. I'll kind of like put all that together with this video as well. It's done, what's it done now? Okay, is that 29,000 miles? It's done about 29,000 miles. So what you'll find with cars and vans, sometimes you'll just get the brakes squealing, and it's usually just because the free movement on the pads is not there, so they'll just start to squeal. So what you could do is you could take your pads off, and then you could put some copper slip onto the brakes so they're all free moving, and put them back on. But the thing is, you're taking everything apart, you're taking your wheel off, so you may as well just put new pads on and have done with it. They're not very expensive. I think the original parts that we've got, I'll give you the product number as well. These were 81 quid including the VAT. So the part number, now interestingly, that part number doesn't include your sensor. So I'd get a new sensor just in case you break your sensor when you're taking it off. I'll have a look now. Usually I think it's the sensors on the driver's side, so just be careful when you're taking that off. With the front, the pads are all the same, so there's no particular order that they need to go in. They're all pretty much the same. And then in your little pack, you'll have some bolts with Loctite already applied. You'll have your little seated clips, and then you'll have your little springs as well that go onto these nipples here, whatever you call them, on the end. What's a little bit different on the back is that you're going to need some kind of kit to wind in the piston. On the front, the pistons just push in. In terms of bleeding the brakes and all the rest of it, you don't need to do anything. Just leave your cap on your brake and just push the piston back in. You don't need to do anything there in terms of taking the cap off or whatever. And then what you also need to remember is that this little groove here, this like little bit that sticks out, that will need to go into the gap on the piston as well. So I'll show you as I'm doing it, but I just wanted to explain those few little bits. Yeah, this little bit here is for the sensor, so they've all got them on. But yeah, I like it when the brakes are just all the same, because you've not got to like worry about what's what. Right, next bit then, we're just going to sort of undo the caliper. Another thing to mention is, because it's your back brakes, you'll need to take your handbrake off, and then I've just put two chocks, so just put something in that's going to stop the van from rolling, both front and back. So yeah, so just stick something under your front wheel. And then the bolt size is 13mm, and what you'll find is that the same with the front, you're going to need to get something onto that bit in the middle there. That's your two bolts out. As I say, that's 13mm, and then you just need something to stop the other square nut spinning on the inside. So obviously you've got new ones of those in your pack. The sensor is actually on the passenger side on this. So the sensor, you get in, Kate. Come on, camera woman, get in here. Your cable runs up onto this bleed nipple here, sort of goes in there, and then comes off and through. There you go. So yeah, luckily I've got that off intact, but just be mindful that they're fairly easy to sort of break. If you can get the replacement, do, but I just was a stupid idiot and forgot. Get a bit of a wiggle. There you go. So you'll see there's a little bit of play in this kind of like retaining hoop here. Just be mindful that you're not getting anything twisted. Obviously you've got your sort of your cables, and then also you've got your sensor connection at the back there, so you don't want to kind of get any of that damaged. But obviously you just want to kind of move it out of the way whilst you're working on it. Now, one thing that will be handy is to, there's a little clip there, to make it easier to work. Can you see it there, Kate? Yeah. There's a little U there which holds onto this cable. So if you just pull that out, you'll get a little bit more room to work with. And just push it out the way. But just remember that how everything's going to go back on. So yeah, just pop that over there and out the way. So best way, probably like that really. And then the next thing to do really is just kind of check everything. Just, you know, how are all your rubbers? When you've been undoing things, you've not kind of caught anything. There's no like splits in your rubber, anything like that. That's the little pin for the sensor. We'll keep that. These will just pop out. And it's always like toe first, head first, and then the back bit out last. Pardon?
The clip you've just took off.
Just there?
Yeah.
I know exactly where it is, Kate. It's there.
Until you come to throw it back on.
Yeah, and then I have to ask you, what did I do with that? And it's usually in my pocket, in my mouth, on my head. Not where I left it. Yeah, just don't come out very easy because they're obviously full of shite. But as you can see, there's like quite a lot of meat left on those really. The new ones, there's a new one. So it's like it's not much been used at all. So in theory, I could kind of just clean everything, clean all these seats, and then, but I just feel if you're pissing about taking everything off, at least you can just stick new brake pads on and then you know it's done. So anyway, yeah, that's, so yeah, and just to say again, like the reason I'm doing this is the squealing the fucking arse off, and it just drives it just sends me loopy. So yeah, when you're taking your pads off, just be mindful of which orientation your clips are in and things like that. So now I've got them off, just need to give all these seats now. These retaining clips you get in a pack, so you can just basically take them off. And you'll see, like, they're full of shit, and there's all shit in the seat. And again, the way these orientate is that the sort of these kind of like teeth that sit forward, you'll see anyway, it's like there's only one way they can go because the teeth go into these little grooves here. So again, there's the ones we've took off, and there's the new ones. So all I'm going to do is take both sides off. Oh. Get a little wire brush, but if you got a tool like that, makes it a bit faster. Won't get fully in there, so just get a nice big flat screwdriver. Just get all the shite off. All you got to remember is just do the inside of the seats and then obviously the tops. Balls are not hanging out on this video, are they? So that's it, just give it a good clean out, wire brush or whatever. How clean you want to get it? Go to town, spend all day if you want. And then pushing them back in, there's like a little spring that sort of pushes to hold on the edge of there. Yeah, I think the way the spring works, you're best off kind of getting those little hooks in first, those little fangs, and then sort of pushing those in first, and then pushing the back in. Yeah, that's gone in a lot easier, that one. Get another couple out. Getting on the inside, do the top first, eh? Then a that second, and then again, fangs first, and the back second. A bit harder than the top for some reason. There you go, let's just give it a good push. Obviously we've got the sensor to come after it's in. You will need some copper slit, copper grease. Another thing you could do before you start putting all that back together is just give your wheel a little bit of a just get all the shite off there so it feels more like a sort of nice even surface for it to go onto. Annoyingly, I remember years ago, you used to get like little packets of this in with the brakes, which is nice and convenient, but I suppose if you're a mechanic, you just have a bucket full of this shit because you're just using it all the time. Yeah, what you want to be sort of aware of is you don't want any of this going on any surface on your discs or on your pads. You just want it to be going in just into these little seats here. One good thing to do really is just to kind of get a bit of a feel for it is do it without your springs. to get a feel for how they go in there like that. Obviously we've got to have these springs going on yet. Let's put the new springs on as well, and they just push in. There's like a little groove on the back again, so it's a bit of a giveaway tell as to which way they go on. So see that there, let's go that way, and then they'll obviously sort of push in like that, and that's that. So we just need to put a little bit of grease inside there. Just going to put a little bit on the end like that. Just a little bit on here as well where it makes contact. So yeah, I've just sort of applied it to the side top just on the front of that retaining spring, and that should do it really. So yeah, I feel like there's quite a good application of grease there, moving freely. Just take it back out. There's none going near the brake pad either, which is good. And then set up the second one. So get your little springy dings, pop them on there like that, and on there like that. And then the same with the grease. Same as, just tow them in. And again, just sort of checking, making sure none of the grease has gone on to the disc. So they're both in now. Next thing to do is, I think I said on previously, but when you are taking everything apart, just make sure there's no rips or anything in these like rubber seals. These seem fine. Just check everything. It's obviously a good time to just check things in general. So what we've got to do now is, if you look on the groove there, we've got to push this piston into there, and this teeth there. So I'll get my kit out and I'll show you what size it is. If anyone is in the Manchester northwest area and you've not got the kit, find me a comment or whatever and just come down. You can use ours. We've got a car park here. You can come and do your brakes if you want. Use a bit of my kit, free of charge. Coffee, price of a coffee maybe. So when you are doing these, there's an arrow showing you which way to go. So on this one, there's an arrow pointing down. If you just have a look at it on there, I don't know if you can see it, Kate. You can see it there, but there's an arrow pointing that way, so you know it's got to be turned that way, which is nice and handy. So the one that fits in my kit is an M. So you just whack that on there like that, and then you just hoop that over. What kit's this? Is it just a cheaper one, isn't it? Sealy, no, Blue Spot it was. They're not particularly expensive, but yeah, and all you want to do is get that into there. Just get that tight against there. And one thing to watch out for is in the kit you'll have a left hand and a right hand tool. So because we want to go down, so we want to go anti-clockwise on this one, we'll use the right hand one. So when we're pulling back to push it apart, it's going anti-clockwise. No, fucking hell. Fuck's sake. I had the right one on. So one thing you've got to watch out for is there's a left hand and a right hand, and obviously because this arrow is going down and anti-clockwise, we want the one that when it's pushing apart is going anti-clockwise even. What? So as we tighten that and it pushes apart, no. Bloopers. Oh. So there's a left hand and a right hand.
This one, it's like very long.
Shut up, Katie. There's a left hand and a right hand, and then there's multiple different size tools. And the tool that fits is M for Mark, and that fits on for moron. And then what you want is, because we're going to be going, the arrow's pointing down, so it's going anti-clockwise. We want the one that when you are going anti-clockwise is pushing apart. So if you look at, oops, yeah, so if we're going anti-clockwise, see how that's pushing together, so that's the wrong one. So you want the other one. Did you see how I did that?
It's a bit obvious.
So then when you go in anti-clockwise, it's pushing apart. Does that make sense, Katie?
It would have done if you didn't swap them around for them.
Stop, Kate. Nobody's seen that, have they? Nobody's seen the mistake. I mean, I don't know how much it costs to get your brake pads changed. It's probably really cheap. Maybe you pay someone else to do it, but fairly easy job. So that's tightened up now, and then want it to go the same way as the arrow, so it's going to go that way. So if you can see the piston. See the piston spinning like that. Given that there was still quite a bit of meat on the brakes that I took off, the pads I took off, should say, it shouldn't have to go too far in. Now, when we're putting it back together, we've got to remember that we want all the cables and everything to go back in the right order. So, and then also that this nipple is gonna thingy. So one thing I've not done, if you see what I've done there, what you're going to want is, if you look at it, you want, because you've got to get onto that nipple on the inside, you want this facing down so that it slides onto this nipple here. So yeah, just make sure it's facing that way, basically. Now, cable wise, that's going to go back on its seat in a minute, and then you want to come over and then want to make sure that that's gone in that seat, that space. Which it has. And then you want to then get your things lined up. That's feeling good. There you go. So I've just put that, so that lead that goes through there into the back, I've just put that back in that sort of U-shaped seat. So unless that clip is bought, so a good point I've noticed, if you've not bought this, then don't lose that little clip that Kate was taking the piss out of me for saying I'd lose it. Goes on there. And then what you want to do is just get your sensor as well, which will go on the inside pad, and then just tie this off as well, like that. It just sits in there. Just make sure nothing else has come loose. Then you've got your new bolts that come in your pack with a little bit of thread lock on. And we'll get probably the bottom one in first. I think the reason that's not going in there is because of that needs to be turned a bit more, because of that. One thing I've noticed is that you see how it's not quite lined up, and I think that's because of the orientation of the piston. It's not quite turned enough. So rather than try and force that in and on, I'm going to do what I normally don't do and just take my time, take it all apart and just have a bit of a look, nosy, and see what's going on. Yeah, it just feels like that kind of wants to be turned a little bit more. So, oops. Yeah, I'd say just a little touch. Gonna almost line it up so that this is lined up with the front of the arrow there. Just gonna twist it a little bit and see if that feels a bit better. Let's have a look. Yeah, see how that's sitting a bit better now? So that's kind of lining up. Let's see if the nut bolt will go in, sorry. That's got it. Now I'm just sort of checking and making sure that the nuts are going in without feeling like they're threaded or anything. But yeah, so that little tip there, just makes, yeah, if you just look back on the video, but yeah, that little tip is a good one, just to make sure that the bolts line up correctly. So again, back with the 13. It's lovely feedback, this. Lovely. These mechanics and they've got these lifts and all that, they don't know they've been born. That's way better than being bent over on a road. Again, just think it's one of them where don't over tighten one side, just get it tight, but then don't over tighten, then tighten the second one. And then when you're tightening back up, the torque setting on for alloys on these is 160 newton meters, so these need taking off and painting really. So what happens is, if you notice on any point on your van, when you get two metals together, there's a slight sort of like passing of electricity, and the lesser metal will usually suffer. Do the other side, but we don't really need to like film that. Well, I said I wouldn't show the other side, but geez, definitely this was the side that was causing me the issue. They were really tight. So you might find with yours that it's probably one side that's causing more of an issue than the other. Yeah, they were really seized on. I'm hoping it's just one of those things where it's got a bit gunked up in here, or you know, for whatever reason it's just seized up, but there's not anything wrong with the piston. So I'll let you know how I go on. So I thought I'd just keep filming and just having a think then. I've not uploaded that many videos recently, and it's not because of any other reason other than just being really busy. I do a few other things. I run a branding and marketing agency, and I also run a 3D animation business, which has sort of took off. So it's not for losing the love of the van stuff and all the rest of it. It's just I'm really struggling to find time to do the editing of the videos, which takes quite a long time. I really like it, but it takes a while. But yeah, it's been cool as well, like realizing that, you know, you get people from all over the world watching these videos, and like the reason I started doing it was because where's Kate with the coffee? The reason I started doing it was because I just got so much from watching other people's videos. I love.
He needs to get the car out.
Coffee. Oh, does she? Okay. Well, no, I've just took the caliper off. You know, watching people like Greg Virgo and like other people online that you know, just share what they're doing. It just makes what you're doing on the van so much easier. And it was nice, like getting a few messages from Australia and New Zealand and Ireland and like all these different places where you can also get these vans, crafters, MAN TGEs and what have you. And yeah, it's just been nice getting little comments off people, and I've moved the van into the middle of the car park, and now my daughter wants to go out, and I've got the van jacked up with no wheel on it, so she won't be going anywhere. But yeah, thanks for everyone who puts little comments on there. It's like, it's really nice, sort of peps me up. And yeah, it's weird, like when I used to do stuff like this, I'd always have like my dad helping out, but my dad's just not been well at all last couple of years. So yeah, so he's not here like annoying me. It's weird, isn't it? Like, it's nice having, you don't realise, but someone there just nagging at you and annoying you or telling you how to do something or whatever, as annoying as it is. So I'm back out again this morning, and I'll tell you why. There's just a couple of things niggling me when I was watching the video back, because obviously this is not necessarily just a video for what I'm doing, but it's kind of a video for everyone to, you know, find out the best thing to do when you're changing your brakes. I think the other thing I could have done to kind of show the full thing was to change the discs, but mine didn't really need changing. And the other thing was the sliding pins. So it would just be helpful to explain, A, for me to check mine. I was pushing mine in and they were moving quite well. But really, again, if you've got your wheels off and you're doing everything, you may as well just grease them. So that was that. And also, I didn't apply grease to the back of the actual pads. I spoke to my mate who's a mechanic, and they said they sometimes do and sometimes don't. And the important thing he was saying to me was just make sure you use as little of the grease as possible and don't overdo it. But yeah, I just thought if I'm going to do a video, I may as well try and show best practice type thing. I didn't overdo everything on safety either. I think I kind of covered it a little bit, but yeah, just really be careful if you've never been under a van. It's just using not only a bottle jack or a trolley jack, but use the axle stands as well. So I did cover that a little bit in my video, but yeah, so the two main points is cleaning and lubricating the pins, because yours might be full of shit and they might not be moving very well. Yeah, that was it really. So I've just took my wheel off, and this is where I'm at with my pins. They're kind of moving fairly freely, but not loads. So really, I could do with taking them off and doing them. It's dead easy. Basically, just pull the seal off there, and then it just comes fully out. So you can see they're pretty well greased already, and they're not too dirty. So I probably would have got away with it, but that's not to say that all of them are the same. Just take this out carefully. So that's what it's like when it comes out. If yours are seized or dirty, then just get some cotton buds or, you know, something to get in there and give it a good sort of clean out. So yeah, that's what I'm going to do. And then from a grease point of view, a couple of things. For the pins, you want something that's high heat, but you don't want anything that's going to affect the rubber. Now, I'm using ceramic grease, which is high heat, but it can swell rubber. However, as most of the grease is in the actual sleeve itself, in the caliper, it's not really heavily affecting the rubber. So, but you could get like red grease or something that's high temperature silicone grease would probably be the best for there. And then don't use your copper slip for that, because that isn't great with the rubber. You can use this stuff as well for the back, you know, for sort of all these. So if you was sort of on a bit of a budget, or you know, you could only buy so much, just probably get this, and then that'll do a number of different things. That'll grease up all your pads and what have you, and then you can grease that. Just don't try not to get this on your rubber. As I say, it won't sort of it's not going to like corrode it, but it will it can make it swell a little bit from what I understand. So yeah, just give it a good sort of rummage around, see if you can get any of the dirt out. Could use like a rolled up cloth or whatever, just to use whatever you use, make sure it's not going to get stuck inside there. So you can see it's not that dirty really. So I probably would have got away with it. As you can sort of feel them sort of moving fairly freely if there was not much movement or it was seized. Now just be careful when you're cracking your nuts off, you might free it up, but it might have previously been seized, if that makes sense. So you probably are best off just taking them out. And again, like I was saying with sort of, if you could just take your wheels off and re-grease all your sort of your little seats and your retainer pins and everything, and just grease everything. And you probably might get away with your brakes, but you may as well just buy some brakes. You may as well buy some grease, and you might just get everything in good working order again. Sorry, one-handed job again. So all I've done is just put a little bit of grease, put my boot on, my rubber boot on first, and then put some of the white grease on. And then just on this side, obviously that side of your caliper, you just want to grease up with a little bit of copper slip. And then I've done the same on the inside there, but obviously there's one piston that side, so I've just put it there. So you just want to put it where your pistons go in. Obviously, you just don't want to get it anywhere near your actual brake pad or your brake disc. And then I'm just gonna sit that in, give it a bit of a work around. So I just needed 2 hands to do that, but yeah, just grease, then push in, just kind of work about, just make sure your boots are sat in, no splits or anything like that. So that's it. I've just knit these up, put a little bit of Loctite back on those nuts. As you can see, the grease is covering where the calipers are. So that's it, front and rear brakes. Hope those handy little tips have helped you out. I always try and include all my little mistakes. Here's a lovely shot of me dancing in my socks and Crocs, and a little tease of a travel video that we've got coming very soon. We went to Scotland and the Outer Hebrides for the first time as well.